Great evening, great Tuesday evening, everyone. I am Catherine Beasley here with you, and I am coming to you with day 9 of our self series, which is about self respect. And just want to talk about a few things related to that, of course, and to kind of chat us through what this is and how it is that we can develop it if we don't have it, help to increase it if we have some, but sometimes we let ourselves down or whatever it is. So here we are. And so the first thing is description of self-respect online. Just did one really quickly just to grab, right? And it says pride and confidence in oneself. And a feeling that one is behaving with honor and dignity. So are you behaving with honor and dignity? Do you exhibit pride and confidence in yourself? Do you have it? Do you need to develop it? Um, do you walk and talk with integrity, right? Do what you say what you mean. One of my favorite books is the Four Agreements by my good friend, and actually I happen to have it right next to me, Don Miguel Ruiz. And the first agreement is to be impeccable with your word. And it's interesting how different people will translate that and think about what he was saying when he was putting that whole agreement together, right? But in being impeccable with your word and in alignment with behaving with honor and dignity is that you really are someone who, when you say something, people can really take it to the bank and expect that you'll follow through with what it is that you're talking about or what you said you would do, especially if you're promising someone something. Um, it's one of the things that drives me to be careful about what I say I'm going to do for people. And sometimes I'm not as good with it as I'd like to be, but I try very hard not to say I'm going to do something if there's even a little bit of chance that I might feel like, oh, I'm not going to do it today. Simply because I don't want people to be disappointed. I don't want them to feel as though they can't believe what I say. Um, and because I want to stand in honor and let people and have people feel like I am about what I say I'm about. So, when we're talking self-respect, and do you have it, comes with a few or a whole bunch of different ways that you can think about it and ways that you can investigate what you have, what you need to develop. So, first is like when you look in the mirror, what do you see? What do you say to yourself? And when you're looking in the mirror throughout the day, right? That positive self talk or negative self talk is going to determine whether you are operating with a level of self respect or not. So you want to make sure that you are always trying to at least feed yourself with that positivity in which you need to build yourself up. If you're not quite where you want to go, then you're going to act as if because you want to ensure that you are moving towards that goal that you have. So you always want to affirm things in the actual present, not you're going to get something, but you are actually in possession of it already. But the same with that level of self respect. When you're affirming things for yourself, do the same about your feelings about yourself. In a training or in a video that I did a few days ago, we talked about making your own personal mission statement or value statement and saying, writing down the type of person that you want to be. And in that self-respect comes into play too. Do you know who it is that you want to be and are you moving towards that person? Do you advocate for yourself? For someone who's showing self-respect, that means that you've set proper boundaries for yourself and that you are holding yourself and others accountable to operating within those boundaries and that you're willing to step out and release yourself with love. As my good friend Tina would say, release them or release yourself with love from situations that don't honor you, that don't respect you, and that fall outside of your boundaries that you've set for yourself. So you don't always have to be the nice person, especially when it comes to um, making sure that you are advocating for yourself. It's hard for women in particular to be assertive, especially when it comes to being assertive for themselves, where they need to go in their personal lives, right? in relationships, where they want to go in business, and are you comfortable enough with asking for that raise and demanding that you be treated fairly and paid equally for your work, as a man, as I'm talking to women here. So those sorts of things are ways that you can show yourself self-respect. You always do it in a way that's non confrontational, but in a way that also lets people know that you're serious about your boundaries, serious about what you know that you deserve and what you want. And if you don't get it, then you respond accordingly, but at least you've asked. So do you feel comfortable enough? Do you respect yourself enough to advocate for yourself, to be assertive in seeing and saying what you want and trying to get that is one way that you can look at how much self-respect you're showing yourself in always, right? We always think we show ourselves self-respect, but these are other ways to look at it, right? Self-respect, how do you go outside? Hey, you respect yourself enough to put yourself together before you go outside. I mean, you have to have on a full face, but you do want to make sure you put some effort into your looks, right? Um, and how you carry yourself around your children versus other people, things to that effect. In showing yourself some grace when you are talking self-respect. We all have a past. We all have things in our past that we may be proud of, really extremely proud of, and things that we're not so proud of. In the same way that you should look at failure when you attempt something or when you set a goal and you don't reach it, there's something that you have learned from that attempt. So failure isn't exactly a failure, it's a lesson, and how you have to look at that. So when you're looking at your past as it relates to your ability to show yourself some self-respect, you want to be able to look at the things that you're not most proud of in your past as lessons, and don't get stuck in that past and don't let it dictate what your future is right now. Don't treat it as a punishment, right? You've been there, you've done that, and you know what to do instead. So you're going to zigzag around certain situations now that you've had that experience. So show yourself some grace, and that's a sign of self-respect as well. Understanding that you have every day, right? Each day is an additional day for you to excel, additional day for you to do better, to learn more, and to treat people differently if you had some issues with that in the prior days, right? So always take a lesson from your past to move forward. And by showing yourself some grace for maybe not having behaved in the most honorable way or with the highest level of integrity, maybe you didn't keep your word, right? You always want to have self accountability and right to own what it is that you did, but to also give yourself enough grace to understand that sometimes things happen, and how you move forward is going to dictate, what your person is moving forward. Right? How are you? If I take this setback, but I learn from it, then I'm making myself a better person, right? But if I take this setback and I let it bog me down and I let it just make me feel awful about myself, and I just pour on and just pile on top of one piece of negativity on top of the next, then I'm eroding my self-respect, right? I'm eroding my self-confidence. I am mistreating myself, and I'm not giving myself an opportunity to grow and expand and learn from these things. And so you want to be careful about that. So showing yourself self-respect is really key. Gaining that self-respect if you don't have it, working towards it. And again, it's a matter of building your confidence. How can you do that? Some ways are right being willing to investigate relationships that you have, and if those relationships aren't serving you because people aren't accepting of your boundaries, as I mentioned, being willing to release those people, those situations with love. And that's really key, surrounding yourself with the right energy, surrounding yourself with people who will support you, and at the very least with people who will not try to beat you down, right? And maybe that's a baby step for you. And sometimes it's your family. It could be your spouse, your children, your parents, your brothers and sisters. So when you are finding yourself in a position where you can't exactly get away from those things, what you do is keep track of or monitor their access to you, right? Maybe you're not going to cut ties with your family completely, but you can decide how much time you're spending talking to them. You can decide what you talk to them about, right? And learn to redirect when the conversation goes to a way or into an area where you are not feeling that it's serving you, right? Negative energy is everything, and It's horrible to be around. Rather, energy is everything, and when you're around negative energy, especially coming from people you love, you kind of get bogged down in it. You feel like you may be trapped in it, and you're not. Right? You redirect that conversation. You let that conversation go, and or prevent yourself from even having those types of conversations. Set some boundaries for what you will and will not engage with certain people, and then you're around them for the reasons you're around them, and then when it comes to everything else, you're not. Right? Self-respect and respecting your own opinions and your own thoughts and your own ideas enough to move forward, and not always having to ask for guidance from other people. It's not bad to seek guidance or confirmation from people, but you have to remember that your promise, your gift, what God has given to you is yours, and it's not for everyone to co-sign. So be careful about who you are getting that type of advice from. That's a sign of self-respect. You're not letting just anyone talk to you about anything or your dreams. You are conscious of who you allow to be privy to your plans for yourself, your future, your family, who you allow to contribute to that, because not everyone has the experience or the attitude, right? You can find some people who may not be as well versed in where you want to go, but what they are versed in can be helpful to you, right? So you're not excluding people just because they don't know certain things, but you are going to exclude people who aren't bringing any positivity to the table for you when you're talking about these things. So making sure that when you're talking about self-respect, that you don't go there too much, and that you also honor what you know, honor how you feel, and move forward in that. And that's a way to exhibit that self-confidence that you have in yourself, just trusting yourself, right? So just want to talk about a few of those things. Do you feel like you respect yourself? Not just like on the bare basics of how you dress. And this is all stuff that it's just dependent on how you feel, and who it is. Like I said, how you dress, and I want to be clear on how you dress. You can dress how you want to dress, right? If you feel good, you look good, and everything else, that's fine. Just be mindful of situations, eh? But my point is, so showing yourself that self-respect, showing yourself and honoring yourself enough to be impeccable with your word to yourself as well. And I'm going to talk about self-alignment a little bit more in one of the upcoming talks, right? Having that vision for yourself, working towards that vision for yourself, being honorable in what you say and do when you tell people these things, um, and setting boundaries for yourself, advocating for yourself, asserting yourself to make sure that you get what you deserve, or at least being willing to say what you want, and what you can control, you can, and what you can't, you don't. And then you move forward to figure out, well, how do you get what you want when it's not coming for someone else? They don't let you sit at their table, you make your own table, A. Tyler Perry. So you want to make sure that you at least know what you want, that you're willing to advocate for what you want, and when you can't get what you want, make what you want, right? All of this ties in some way, form, or fashion to self-respect. So with that, how are you with your self-respect levels? Where do you fall short? What are you working towards? How are you helping others, right? That level of self-respect that comes from being helpful to other people and caring for other people. Let me know what you think. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.